Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. And tonight's Raw was held from the US Bank Arena in Cincinnati, Ohio. And man, tonight's Raw, this show was a piece of shit tonight. Raw sucked tonight. It was rawful, as what people in the YWC and the IW Internet Wrestling community has been saying about Raw, how it's just been, awful. But yeah, that's what people call it. It was rawful. But yeah, show was a piece of shit. But did have a good announcement that we pretty much all knew about, because it was announced over the weekend that Stephanie McMahon was going to have a big announcement, which was going to be on Raw. And the show opened up tonight. We saw all the rosters on the stage from Raw and SmackDown. There was the woman from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT there. And we have Vince McMahon in the ring. And he welcomes the people to Monday Night Raw, and he brings out Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. And so Triple H, says he wants to acknowledge the WWE superstars and all the superstars across each brand, from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and NXT UK. Which NXT UK hasn't even been, they didn't tape it yet, so. But really looking forward to when they tape it, NXT UK. And, he tells the woman to step forward, so we had all the women from the brands there, from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Triple H ends up saying to the woman that, the men who stand behind them all support them, and the WWE universe, all support them. And they just goes to talk, on and on, praising, the women superstars. And Stephanie says, makes the big announcement that on October 28th, over 50 women will participate in an event called Evolution. There's going to be, of course, the woman from now competing, and the woman from back then are also going to be competing in this event too. And it was announced that I think Lita and Trish Stratus are going to be part of this pay-per-view, from what I read in the article. So Lita and Trish are confirmed. So yeah, so the pay-per-view is going to be called Evolution, which is going to be an all-women's pay-per-view. And on commentary, they said that the Raw and SmackDown women's championships will be defended on the show, as well as in the final, as well as the finals in the second Mae Young Classic. So yeah, so it's gonna be awesome, and it's gonna be the Evolution pay-per-view is gonna be held at Nassau Coliseum in Long Island. So that's gonna be cool. But I'm really looking forward to Evolution, this all-women's pay-per-view. I think hopefully it'll be a good show. I hope Triple H books the show, which I hope that they make him book the show and make it good. So, but disappointed that they didn't announce, because there was articles saying that they were making women's tag team championships. I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't announce that. It would have been cool if they would have announced it, and crown, have make them have a women's tag team match and whoever wins it will be the new women's the new women's tag team champions. But so really looking forward to Evolution. And I gotta say that this was the best part of Raw tonight, aside from the main event, which ended disappointingly. So, but yeah, this segment was the best part of Raw tonight, in my opinion. The whole big announcement. And then we had the B team in the locker room. Curtis Axel says to Bo Dallas, he's excited for the Evolution pay-per-view, and they were bragging and hyping up the Evolution pay-per-view all night tonight. So, but Bo says to Curtis that these past few weeks have been like a dream, where he went from barely winning matches to defending the tag team titles. And Curtis says, there's no one he'd rather ride with, and that the B stands for brothers. We see Bo Dallas end up hugging Curtis. He calls him, the brother that he never had, and he wants to go out and show that, the B stands for best. So they go to leave, but then they realize they forgot their Raw Tag Team Championships. And they head back and get them. So it was that. So, but then we had Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, the B team, versus Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Their rematch from Extreme Rules. And this match, it was meh. Wasn't that great of a match. We saw it at Extreme Rules. So, but Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas win the match. They retain the Raw Tag Team Championships. So, and then we had, after the match, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt end up taking out Curtis and Bo. Matt ends up hitting the Twist of Fate to Bo Dallas. Bray ends up hitting Sister Abigail to Curtis Axel. So that's how it went after the match. But it was a meh match, in my opinion. Wasn't that great of a match. And then we had Finn Balor and Chad Gable backstage talking about the Evolution pay-per-view. Chad Gable was asking, if they're bringing anybody back, from back then, the woman from back then. And we see a guy walks with Finn Balor's suitcase. The next guy that was walking had his jacket. And so Balor asked the guy, who has his jacket? And he was like, what are they doing with, his stuff? And one of the guys says that both of them have been given orders from Constable Corbin to move Finn to a new locker room. And so Balor asks, to show him, the new locker room, his new locker room. And it is revealed to be a child's playhouse, which is so stupid. I'm like, really? This is what they're doing? So fucking stupid. Then Constable Corbin comes and says to Finn that, after his victory at Extreme Rules, he felt, Balor was too big of a superstar to not have his own locker room. And so Balor says it's great. And, he always wanted a playhouse, a fun house. And so Corbin ends up telling him to get ready for his match against McIntyre tonight. So yes, that's the match tonight. Finn Balor is going to take on Drew McIntyre. So that was the backstage segment. It pretty fucking stupid with the whole playhouse shit. Then we had Bayley and Sasha getting interviewed about their friendship. Bayley says since last week, Sasha and her had a long talk, and that they both have their differences, and their differences make their friendship so strong. And Sasha says her and Bayley are different, but they both have the same dream, and that the dream got bigger with the Evolution pay-per-view now announced, and that they both are on the same page. And so Bayley says it was nice to hear what Sasha felt last week. And also Sasha says she knows because she felt the same way. So I'm like, what is going on with this whole thing between Bayley and Sasha? This whole feud has gone confusing as of now. But are they still gonna have a match together? Because the rumored SummerSlam card came out and Bayley versus Sasha was on it. So who knows? We don't know if this is still happening. But we'll just have to wait and see. But it was on the rumored SummerSlam card that both Bayley and Sasha were gonna have a match at SummerSlam. Then we had a match. It was Bayley and Sasha versus jobbers, woman jobbers, local jobbers. Wasn't really nothing of a match. Nothing great happened. It was a shitty match. Easy win match for Bayley and Sasha. So that was the match. Then throughout the night, Elias was out and he was getting interrupted, and his album dropped today. And I listened to the songs. I gotta admit, he sings pretty well in studio, but when he sings live, it fucking sucks. In my opinion. I'm not a big Elias fan, so. But I mean, his first album, his singing was good. He could sing good when he's singing in the studio. When he sings live, no, just no. So he was out. Saying his album "Walk with Elias" is out right now, and he gets interrupted by Braun Strowman. He was getting interrupted throughout the night. He was first interrupted by Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt's song intro, and then he was interrupted by Braun Strowman. So Braun Strowman comes out and says that the WWE Universe is talking about two things. One is the Evolution pay-per-view, the women's pay-per-view, which Strowman congratulates the woman, and he also congratulates Alexa Bliss, who was his mixed match challenge partner. And the second thing that he says everybody in the WWE Universe is talking about is the match between Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley, which happened tonight. And he says tonight they will go one-on-one, and one of them will face Lesnar for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. And he says he doesn't care if it's Roman, Lashley, or Lesnar. He says sooner or later a monster is going to be calling because he has the Money in the Bank contract. And so Kevin Owens ends up coming out and says, to Strowman, he can't believe what he did to him at Extreme Rules when Strowman threw Owens off the cage into the announce table. And so Strowman comes out. He says Strowman comes out and talks about like nothing happened at Extreme Rules. Sorry about that, but I was saying, Owens says, Strowman comes out and talks about like nothing happened, at Extreme Rules. And he says to Strowman the only reason he wanted to be friends with him because his 10-year-old son likes Strowman. And he goes on to say to him that his children are scared at home when they see him go down the stairs in pain. And he says, he has a family to take care of, and Strowman tried to take it away from him. And so Kevin Owens says he's going to take everything away from Strowman. And so Strowman tells Owens to come down and try it. But, Owens didn't want to. And Owens says, he won the match at Extreme Rules and has nothing to prove. And that Strowman's problems have just begun. And so Constable Corbin comes out and says Stephanie has empowered him to handle this situation. Corbin says he found someone to teach Strowman to control his temper. And so, who will that be? Out comes Jinder Mahal and Sunil Singh. And Jinder says, he senses a storm of anger brewing in Strowman. And he wants Strowman to journey to his inner peace. And so Jinder wants him to close his eyes and breathe. The whole thing that Jinder has been doing, where he's going Shansi, like that. And Strowman says to Jinder, this is not working, but he appreciates the help that Jinder's help, and he says he knows he has a temper, and he has a mantra of his own. And he tells Sunil to come over and demonstrate. And Strowman tells Jinder and Sunil and the WWE Universe to close their eyes and repeat what he's got to say. And he goes, "Get these hands. Get these hands." So, it's funny though. And then we see Strowman ends up booting Jinder. And then he lays out Sunil Singh with the running power slam. And pretty much that's how the segment ended. But, it was an okay segment with Strowman and, Kevin Owens. But when Jinder Mahal ended up coming out, it ended up killing the whole segment. So then we had Mickie James versus Natalya, typical women's match. Nothing special happened. Mickie James got the win with the kick to Natalya because Alexa Bliss was out there on the floor. Alexa ended up distracting Natalya. So Natalya ended up laying out Alexa, and that's when Mickie got the upper hand and hit a kick to Natalya and won the match. So all in all, it's a typical women's match. Nothing special happened. Then we had Charlie Caruso. She was interviewing Roman Reigns about heading into his match with Bobby Lashley tonight. And Roman says tonight is the night of first, because it's going to be the first time he beats Bobby Lashley. And he goes on to say that he is a workhorse. And tonight he adds to his resume that he defeats Bobby Lashley. And that he's going to SummerSlam. And he says he's going to whoop Lesnar's ass and take the Universal Championship. So that was the interview with Roman. And then Elias was out again. He was trying to perform. Only this time he gets interrupted by the Authors of Pain. So after Raw came back from the commercial, the Authors of Pain were in the ring. Akam and Razor. Akam is on the mic and he says, they want someone else. That him and Razor want someone else. Razor says they don't want Titus Worldwide. And what do you know? Out comes Titus Worldwide, Titus O'Neil, Apollo Crews, Dana Brooke. And Titus puts over the Authors of Pain, saying they are the strongest and that they have a lot to learn. He even asks to teach the Authors of Pain to trip over themselves. And Titus says there is no shame in falling, considering it happened to him at the Greatest Royal Rumble, which was hilarious. But, it got so overplayed. But, he's like, after he had his trip, he got right back up. And Apollo says, how Titus helped his career. Titus ends up saying, Titus deserves, the Authors of Pain respect, considering that, they are still here after, many have come and gone. And Apollo says if the Authors of Pain had half the class Titus has, they would be champions. And Akam says there is something Titus can do, and that is to just walk away and retire. Then we get a brawl between the Authors of Pain and Titus Worldwide. That was pretty much it. It was meh segment. And then we see, after that, we saw Kurt Angle and Stephanie. They were in the garage talking. Kurt says to Stephanie that he was worried when she was announced that she was coming to Raw. And he ends up telling Stephanie that Evolution made him proud to be general manager. And so Corbin and Kevin Owens come, and Owen says, how is Stephanie, going to handle Strowman? And how is Stephanie, wanting to handle Strowman? And Stephanie asks, Owens, how he was doing. And Owen says, it's been hard with the vendetta that Strowman's held against him. And he says he wants to wrestle Strowman again at SummerSlam with one condition. He wants the Money in the Bank contract on the line, to be on the line, and change hands. And Kurt ends up saying, oh, that's absurd. And Stephanie ends up liking the idea. And she ends up giving Owens a handshake. And that's when we saw Kevin Owens hugging Corbin. We see Kurt open the limo door for Stephanie to leave. She ends up leaving. And that's how the segment went. So Kevin Owens wants to fight Strowman again. Only if he wants, the Money in the Bank contract on the line. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But we all know Strowman's possibly going to win it, though. He's possibly going to win the match with Kevin Owens. Then we had Mojo Rawley versus Tyler Breeze once again. This was nothing. It was a boring match, in my opinion. Mojo Rawley, then making Mojo Rawley more good of a heel. So Mojo Rawley ends up winning the match. He hit the Alabama Slam to Tyler Breeze. Oh, it was a boring match. We've seen it before. Then Elias was out. Once again, gets interrupted by Finn Balor's music. So then we had Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. The match was decent. It was going decently. It was back and forth between the both of them. You had Dolph Ziggler out there. Finn Balor ended up getting the win by disqualification because Dolph ended up interfering, taking out Balor, throwing punches to Balor. Then we got Seth Rollins, who comes out and rescues, Balor, comes to Balor's save. And he takes down Dolph Ziggler. And, Rollins is just throwing punches at Dolph. Sorry about that, but I was saying, Seth was just throwing, punches at Dolph. And, Dolph retreated out of the ring. And Kurt Angle ends up coming out and says, Dolph and Drew aren't going anywhere. And so he makes a tag team match against Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler versus Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. And the match happened during after he made the announcement. And so it was Finn Balor and Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. This was a decent tag team match. It was back and forth between them. Seth Rollins, of course, entertaining as always. The crowd was behind him. So, Seth Rollins is a guy to see every week. But Balor and Seth got the win. Seth ended up hitting the stomp to Dolph Ziggler to score the win for him and Balor. So Finn and Seth end up winning the match. So, but it was a decent tag team match. It was enjoyable because of Balor and Seth Rollins. Then we had Charlie Caruso interviewing Bobby Lashley about heading into his match with Roman tonight. Lashley says this is why he came back for big matches like this. And he says Roman had 2 chances against Lesnar and he failed. And that he said that Roman is going to fail tonight. And so Lashley ends up saying he's going to tell Lesnar to his face that they will fight next week because Lesnar is going to be appearing on Raw next week. And so that's why Lashley said that. And he also says he hopes Lesnar rests up because there's going to be no sleep in Brooklyn. And that's how the interview ended with Lashley. It's a decent interview with Lashley. Then we had Ember Moon versus Liv Morgan. Once again, this was a boring match. Ember Moon ended up getting the win. She ended up hitting the Eclipse to Liv Morgan. And Liv Morgan only came out with just herself. Sarah Logan wasn't there. And of course, Ruby Riot's out with the injury. So, Ember Moon wins the match. It was a boring match, in my opinion. We've seen it before. We've seen Ember Moon and Liv Morgan before. So they have nothing for Amber at the moment. No storyline or feud for her. She hasn't had anything. She hasn't had anything good to do since WrestleMania. So since she came up from Raw after WrestleMania. So then we had Mike Rome interview Seth Rollins about the meeting that he had with Kurt Angle. And Seth says, Kurt gave him a match at SummerSlam. And that it's going to be him versus Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship. So that's going to be happening at SummerSlam. So then Elias was out once again. Kurt Angle ends up coming out and tells Elias to perform a song from his album. And Elias, is singing. He says, he's not feeling the vibe here in Cincinnati. And he ends up calling, Cincinnati, the grossest people that he's ever seen. So that was that. Then we had the main event, Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley. The winner gets to be the number 1 contender and faces Lesnar for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. This was a decent main event, but in the end, we all knew who was going to win it. That's right. That's right. Roman Reigns wins the match. He ends up winning the match with the spear to Bobby Lashley. Once again, WWE does it for Roman. You know, they don't learn. They don't fucking learn. How many times, you know, Vince will never stop. You know, Vince will never stop. You know, he wants to keep giving Roman opportunities after opportunities after opportunities. And nobody wants to see it anymore. Nobody wants to see Roman in a title, get another title shot. Nobody wants to see it no more. We're all tired of it. So yeah, so now it's going to be Roman versus Lesnar 3 once again at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship. Man, I can tell you right now, that Brooklyn crowd is going to crucify that match. And what I mean is by they're gonna take over, they're gonna, you know, take over, you know, the whole match, you know, hijack. They're gonna, you know, the crowd's gonna hijack the show or that match. You know, they're gonna be doing the wave. There's probably gonna be some beach balls being hit around, because we all know that's how the crowd is, you know, in Brooklyn. I've seen it last year when I went to Raw, when I attended the Raw after SummerSlam. People were doing the wave, and people were hitting beach balls. You know, if the match was boring, and that's what you're probably going to get. That's what you're probably going to see during Roman versus Lesnar once again. You're going to be seeing that. I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen. So, yeah, I really don't want to see this again. I don't want to see Roman versus Lesnar again. I really do hope Strowman comes and cashes in that Money in the Bank contract. You know, if he beats Kevin Owens at SummerSlam, hope he, you know, retains the Money in the Bank contract, goes back, cashes it in the same night, and beats whoever it is, whether it's Roman or Lesnar. Cashes in whoever's the Universal Champion, whether it's Roman or Lesnar. I hope Strowman finally becomes the Universal Champion at SummerSlam. And I know it's probably going to happen. It's going to happen. So, but yeah, main event, it was decent, but the end, we all knew who was going to win, and we're all not too pleased with it, because WWE, they do it for Roman. So, yes, anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all back here tomorrow night for my SmackDown review, which I hope SmackDown is a much better show. Hopefully they deliver tomorrow night. So I will see you all back here tomorrow night for my SmackDown review.